new song. So, is this platonic or is it romantic? I don't know. Why don't you tell me? I love you. I love you too. With all my heart, in all the ways that a person can love and be loved. With all my heart too. Which is convenient, because it's the same heart. It's romantic. Oh yeah.
Here's a freaky switch for you all.
And I'm still looking at the light. Pretty weird, right? Now watch this. Alright, look.
If you think you just watched one person role-playing as two people, well, you're both right and wrong, and I'll explain. What you saw might look like someone slipping in and out of characters for entertainment, but the truth behind it is more layered and disturbing. This isn't just a case of quirky acting or some social media gimmick. It's tied to something deeper that walks a very fine line between performance and real-life manipulation. Living with mental health challenges is no walk in the park. It comes with its daily struggles and sometimes with a lot of stigma. Navigating life while dealing with psychological disorders can be exhausting, often leaving people feeling isolated, judged, or misunderstood. Some are born with these challenges and have to learn to overcome them or live with them right from childhood, developing coping mechanisms that evolve with time. Others might discover their condition only later in life after years of confusion, misdiagnosis, or self-doubt. Either way, the journey is rarely easy. As such, you would expect that any rational person would tread very carefully when it comes to such issues, right? Most people, especially those with empathy and awareness, know that mental health is not a topic to be thrown around carelessly. Well, unlike you, who happens to be rational and respectful, some creators have gotten into the bad habit of using mental health issues as their go-to topics in the rat race to make money. For them, it's less about advocacy or raising awareness, and more about finding the latest angle to capture attention, even if it means exploiting serious conditions for likes, views, and followers. One of such creators is Jessie Hart. Meet Jessie, a transgender female, if she really is one. The identity she claims is complicated, and there are questions that still swirl around it. These questions are not necessarily because of her gender identity itself, but because of how she presents her overall narrative. That ambiguity becomes more relevant when you begin to uncover the story behind her social media persona. By the end of this video, you'll see why it may be very hasty for us to refer to her as transgender. This is not about denying anyone's identity, it's about making sure that claims align with consistent behavior and authenticity. There's a much deeper issue at play here, one that goes beyond gender and dives into the very core of honesty and exploitation on social media. In the fast-moving world of TikTok, where being real matters a whole lot and going viral can either boost or ruin your reputation, Jessie grabbed a huge audience, but just as quickly stirred up a storm of drama. TikTok is a platform that thrives on personalities, trends, and vulnerability, but it also has a sharp memory for hypocrisy. Jessie is a content creator who stumbled into the limelight of TikTok fame by putting out content where she identified as being a member of the DID community, a move that both intrigued and unsettled many viewers. While all of the content Jessie posted on TikTok was nothing short of being cringe, to summarize it all under the umbrella of embarrassing content would be to play down the wrong that she did. It wasn't just uncomfortable to watch, it was problematic on a whole new level. Her videos were a very direct insult to the DID community and a drawback on the progress and freedom that social media now affords the average person going through their own mental health challenge. For every step forward in representation and awareness, acts like hers drag the conversation 10 steps back. As if being against real progress wasn't enough stain on her record, Jessie also had a past history of being a scammer. Yeah, you heard that right, a scammer. Her digital history is riddled with receipts that raise questions about her motives from the start. And if you think that was all the evil she was capable of, you definitely would want to stick around to learn of the indecencies that she was willing to expose minors to. In this video, we'll take a look at just how terrible Jessie Hart is, and I gotta warn you, some clips are painfully embarrassing to watch. They're not just awkward. They reveal the mindset of someone who sees shock value as a tool no matter the human cost. Jessie Hart is a content creator who went by the name TwoSoulsOneBod on TikTok before she got banned. Just like the name implies, she portrayed herself as two people living in one body, Jessie and James. It was a brand built around split identities, a catchy concept for social media, but one that raised red flags the more you watched.
Let's see. I like that now that we addressed everything, people are like jumping on the next thing. Yeah, I know, they're really eager to like disprove us. Yeah, they really are. Well, you know what? They're being scientists. Okay. They're critically thinking. Alright, that's fair.
I know we're a little tired, but you want to show them that we can kiss?
Oh yeah. We should show them that.
Let's do it again.
That was just a light peck.
Yeah, it was just a light peck, dude. Sorry, my lips are dry.
No, it's okay. It's fine. So am I.
Oh man, smooth Han Solo, alright.
While that might sound strange to you, it really isn't a new case. It's a mental health condition known as dissociative identity disorder, or DID. It's rare, but very real, and its effects on someone's life can be deeply destabilizing. Dissociative identity disorder is a mental health condition where you have two or more separate personalities that control your behavior at different times. When personalities switch, you'll have gaps in your memory. The identities are usually caused by living through trauma. DID is exactly what it's described as, a disorder, not a condition that anyone holds on to for clout chasing. It's a painful reality for those who live with it, something that affects relationships, careers, and day-to-day functioning. It's not something people want, it's something they endure.
Time I didn't know what it was. I was just like, I'm freaking out. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's causing it. And it was causing everyone around me to be in distress as well. So that's when I knew, like, okay, I had to do something. I have about 20 nicknames. Okay, maybe there's something there. And then, yeah, eventually I found a psychotherapist. By that time, I discovered the different parts of me. So my name isn't originally Gang. Gang means, or represents there's a gang in my brain, and we have, when I say we as in the different versions of me, we have different names depending on which one is fronting. That was the moment where it just dawned on me. I was like, oh, this is real, mental health is real. Like, I'm literally thinking about exiting this life. I broke down in the office, just started crying. And the doctor warned me, and the doctor was like, it's gonna be heavy. And I'm like, yeah, it's fine, I'll handle it. And then after that, I spent the next 6 months trying to figure out, okay, well, what's going on? Why am I at tears? Why is everything upsetting me? Why is everything triggering me?
DID literally has the power to mess with your idea of life as you know it. It took him 6 months to figure out what was going on with him. That's half a year of living in a state of confusion, fear, and self-doubt. You could blame this on the system he had around him, or how he reached out for help, but it won't invalidate the fact that it's a condition that demands figuring out, and intensely so. There's nothing casual about this disorder. For Jessie and James, however, it was their moneymaker. They saw it as a fun thing to exploit for social media relevance. They once played with the idea of monetizing their nice voices. It wasn't just a way to express themselves, it became a tool for self-promotion, wrapped in layers of supposed vulnerability.
Jessie, she lost her job. Well, I mean, like, I could still do it, but, like, yeah, but you're getting harassed now.
Yeah.
So what are we going on about? Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're gonna have, like, a donate button or, like, a A Patreon. Yeah, because we would like to, yeah, we'd really like to do this. Like, it's already exploded into a full-time job. Yeah, just the community and like just the everything. I know it's been a wild ride. Yeah, but I think people would like it, especially like, hey, wait, let me ask you guys, because this is an idea we'd like to run by you. Yeah. Let us know what you think. What do you guys think about ASMR? Well, they might like that. Yeah, a lot of people said like, wow, you guys have nice voices. Well, you. No, dude, you too. I don't know. Look, sometimes I feel like I can't even get my full voice out because like I take up too much room in the sometimes like I know I wish there was more pattern there, but it's just not happening sometimes.
And in one of their posts, they claimed some level of mastery over the condition, like it were some sport, as if being good at switching personalities is something you train for and perfect like an Olympic event.
Oh, someone asked that the amount of switching that we're doing would exhaust the body and the brain. And that would be true, but we have actually, I don't want to say mastered, because it's always improvement. That's true. We have gotten really good at it. We figured it out. We can see the brain operating around us, and we have ways to switch extremely fast by controlling presence in the body and the brain. And when you get tired, and when you become exhausted when you're switching, it's because you're not clearly switching and you're not doing, it's like a technique. It's like swimming. If you take somebody and you just throw them into the English Channel, if they have no experience, right, they'll drown. They won't be able to like get anywhere. But we're like, we worked to become like Olympic swimmers of dissociation.
The Olympic champions of dissociative identity disorder? That is as absurd as it gets. It speaks low of the struggles of other people living with the condition, whose lives have been turned upside down and are now trying to make something out of their life for themselves. To those people, this is not a costume they can take off after filming a video. It's their reality. While DID has become the cross that many have to bear unwillingly, Jesse and James gathered a following by embracing their disorder. To them, it was not something to be hated. It became their thing. They were two identities in one body who enjoyed each other's company from the looks of things. It was a performance of unity, not a portrayal of internal struggle.
And the other thing is, like, when we hear disorder or the word disorder, we jump on it like, oh, it's a bad thing, or that it's disordering your life, that it's but it's actually the best thing that's ever happened to me. Like, I wouldn't give it up for the world now that I have it. It's the coolest thing ever. It's completely changed my life for the better. And I'm so glad that I have, like...
One thing was odd about Jesse and James, though, and it was the fact that their takes on issues and the stories they told were many times quite inconsistent, and sometimes just not in line with how people living with DID described the disorder. There were contradictions everywhere, from timelines to symptoms, and the more you paid attention, the more you realized something was off. First of all, dissociative identity disorder has been medically reported to be one that is caused by a great level of trauma, especially one that sets in quite early in one's life, and the kind that happened many times. The trauma needs to be severe, repetitive, and long-lasting, often rooted in childhood abuse or neglect.
Beginning in the 1980s, researchers on dissociation and dissociative disorders developed a number of reliable self-report inventories and diagnostic interviews to assess dissociation in children, adolescents, and adults. In these studies, higher dissociation scores and a dissociative disorder diagnosis were strongly linked to those with acute or chronic traumatic experiences.
But for Jesse and James, the case was different. They described the trauma as one that was caused by a failed relationship with a narcissist. That's not to say adult trauma isn't valid, but it strays far from the clinically accepted patterns seen in DID development.
You can read about it in the textbooks. It's always childhood abuse, and then they're vulnerable, and then they get picked up by a narcissist. And that's exactly what happened. I got swooped up by a narcissist, which is my ex. And I hate having to bring her into this because I really wanted to be done with her. And I didn't mention her anywhere on any of the TikToks or anywhere.
I understand. Also, I'm here. I'm just letting you tell your story.
I worked for this woman for 7 years. 7 years of my life. I didn't take credit for anything. I hid in the background. Meanwhile, I had come up with the name for the business. I had come up with the entire business itself. That whole business was my idea. It was me. It was based on what I was in, that I liked, or whatever.
Own brand of trauma is just so conveniently rebellious and unusual. No childhood trauma, no repetitive cycles, just a story of love gone wrong. Jesse and James totally disregarded whatever years of medical research had to say and tried so hard to sell to their followers their unverified version of the root cause of DID. It's like rewriting a textbook because the truth didn't fit their narrative. In their bid to gain some level of credibility, they recorded a session that they had with a doctor talking about their struggle with DID.
I think that you very much described the experience of dissociative identity disorder. So, if this is how you are going through life, that is the understanding that we have from a mental health perspective.
Okay.
The problem with this, though, is that it's possible that the whole performance was not with an actual doctor. There was just no telling the lengths they were willing to go to protect the persona they had crafted for themselves on TikTok. Attention is intoxicating, and a lot of people would go lengths to keep getting that attention. Pretending to get help is not the same as actually doing the work.
I don't want to say like mad scientists, but like it's so fascinating that we spend a lot of our time trying to figure out all the interesting, weird things we can do with the brain and like how we can like demonstrate that we're both here. And we kind of got really into it. Yeah, like last month we were working on it a lot to like figure out, everything. But we would also like a doctor to help us figure everything out.
Another issue with this whole setup is the fact that even if it was a real certified medical practitioner in the mental health field, there's already enough information online for anybody to learn about dissociative identity disorder. So easily flowing through a session like that was no big deal. If you study enough buzzwords and symptoms, you can fake your way through almost anything.
Yeah, we're totally different. And like a boy to girl, we think like I think like a man, and I think like a woman. I had a pretty good idea of the rarity of DID and like the resources available, and there just really isn't, which is a part of the reason I went online, is to try and raise awareness. And it slowly like fell apart, and then the internet got really mad because they wanted to know like what trauma caused this, and yeah, it was bad. But anyway.
Also, notice how out of character they are. For an eccentric duo who are almost always laughing for no reason when trying to complete each other's statements, they somehow seem to have figured out sobriety during that session. I wonder how that came about. The shift was too sudden, too controlled, and too suspicious. Jesse's description of her relationship with James was another cause for concern.
Well, what's his relationship to me? I don't know, because he's, at this point, it's like he is a brother, father, but at the same time, neither of those things technically or legally. And he's also like my boyfriend. So I don't know what to do about it. It's weirdly like in and because at times I'm very much like, I'll call him dad. And it's like strange because he really thought that I was his daughter. Also seeing each other as brother and sister because we both came. But then see that no matter what we do, it ends up like in this weird sort of situation where we're both like, are we like, is this cool that we're doing this? You know what I mean?
Unlike other cases of DID where people can tell the different personalities apart quite distinctively, Jesse and James could not do that. Jesse describes James as a brother, a father, and also a boyfriend. That alone raises red flags. She also doesn't shy away from saying that it feels like an inappropriate relationship, but not caring seems to be their thing. The lack of boundaries between the identities is not just confusing, it's disturbing. For a disorder that has its roots deep in trauma, Jesse and James were surprisingly casual about it, like unnervingly casual. It was almost as if trauma for them was just one of those vague background details. There, technically, but not really something to dwell on. No heaviness, no weight.
Alright, so I grew up, I had best friends, I was boy, there was no gender stuff. Yeah, and then I became a teenager. Oh, yeah, right, trauma. Right, I was like, are you skipping something? Yeah, so I went through trauma. Like,
notice how the trauma part of the video gets dropped in almost as an afterthought, like, oh right, that little detail. It lacks the kind of gravity you'd expect from someone who claims to have suffered through the kind of intense, prolonged childhood trauma that can cause a person's mind to fracture into dissociated identities. There's no emotional shift, No moment of reflection, just a smooth, breezy conversation between supposedly two halves of one body, tossing around life-altering experiences as if they were just quirky facts about themselves.
The kind that DID really enjoys. No, they don't, like, the DSM-5. Prolonged childhood trauma. It's right there in the definition or whatever. Right. And so that's just, yeah, that was my experience. And I don't want to, like, go into that, because it's, like, one.
Then comes the jargon. The DS-75, prolonged childhood trauma. It's right there in the definition. It feels performative, like they're name-dropping key terms associated with dissociative identity disorder just to sound legitimate, to earn credibility without actually showing any lived reality behind the words. They reference trauma like it's some checklist item that needed to be ticked off, but not something they've truly confronted, processed, or even discussed in any meaningful way. Conveniently vague, suspiciously shallow.
Well, I mean, we're making everything their business. Yeah, but it's trauma, right? Yeah, it's trauma. People need to respect that. Yeah, they have to respect that with everybody. Yeah. Anyway, so and I was like I had PTSD, I was like in really bad shape, I had OCD, I had anxiety issues, and I also dissociated during that time. Really? Yeah, I would just like sometimes like kind of, like do the whole depersonalization thing or whatever. Okay, like derealization. But like, yeah, I don't know. But it was really prolonged. It went like all the way up until like I finally moved out. Like finally, like 18, 19 or whatever.
And here's the thing. Their followers picked up on that. People started noticing the contradictions, the lack of depth, the emotional disconnect, the way trauma was both central and sidelined. And naturally, questions started pouring in. Because if you're going to claim an identity built around surviving something as serious as prolonged childhood trauma, you'd expect some emotional authenticity, some trace of the pain. But with Jesse and James, it all just felt off. So first they didn't have trauma, and then once people started using that against them, suddenly they have trauma to share? They never talk about trauma or anything, just trauma, duh, we enjoy it. Trauma. I'm not saying they have to talk about it, but PTSD, OCD, and depression are lifelong afflictions. These are not something you had. I have all three. It never goes away. Comes in waves. Jesse and James couldn't be more unconcerned, going about their business of spreading suspicious stories about their disorder. In another TikTok post, they mentioned that they did not have an inner world and changed it almost immediately, giving one of the silliest cover-ups ever.
What else? Inner world. We don't have an inner world. Yeah, why don't we have an inner world? Yeah, because it's pointless. Okay, how is an inner world pointless? It just is. Why would we want to go to an inner world? Well, we can be right here with each other. Because we just project each other like AR. Yeah, it's like that game that you really, really like, but we haven't played together yet. Pokemon Go. Yeah, I'm like a Bulbasaur on this trash can.
An inner world, sometimes called an internal world or headspace, is a mental environment where members of a system, whether hosts or alters, can appear and interact with one another. It's not a physical place, obviously, but more of a vividly imagined, often deeply detailed mental landscape. For people genuinely living with dissociative identity disorder, it can be a central part of how the system functions and communicates internally. It's not just a whimsical fantasy, it serves a real purpose, rooted in coping mechanisms and psychological survival.
A few minutes later.
No, we do have an inner world. We just don't use it, like, we just have decided. Yeah, we tried that, like, we did the inner world, where we had, like, a house, and the only problem is that when we went there, when we switched out, we went there, it was boring. There was nothing to do, there's nobody else. That's the problem with two people. It's just like, you go to the house, and you're like, wow, this is fun. It's an empty room with a bunch of imaginary stuff. Right, and you're just like, I don't want anything to do with it. I want to hang out with you and do cool stuff with you. Why would I want to, like, sit in a house, an empty house, all alone? It's just not for me, personally.
Now, if you watch the progression of Jesse and James' content, it goes from, we don't have an inner world, to suddenly, we do. And then just as quickly shifts into them brushing it off with some vague excuse for why they don't really use it. That sort of flip-flopping isn't just inconsistent, it completely undermines the foundation of what an inner world is supposed to represent for people with DID. It'd be one thing if they acknowledged growth or discovery within their system, but that's not what's happening. What we're seeing is them tossing out pieces of DID terminology like they're accessories, trying them on, discarding them, picking them back up again when convenient. And if you're going to claim self-diagnosis for a disorder as complex as DID, the very least you can do is make sure you understand the basics. This kind of inconsistency isn't just sloppy, it's damaging. The inner world is not a side feature of DID. It's a deeply personal, often vital part of how many real systems operate. When someone contradicts themselves so openly about something so core, it doesn't just make them look uninformed, it also invites doubt, and not just from critics. Their own followers started noticing, and unsurprisingly, problems followed. They said, with a bunch of imaginary stuff. I've never heard a person with DID refer to their inner world things as imaginary. There is absolutely no dissociation. The inner world, even with two, isn't empty. It has the other one that is not fronting. And honestly, that's a very apt observation. With alters, the case is that one is fronting per time. One alter is in control of the mind at a time. Cases where more than one personality is in front are very rare. Jesse and James, though, they're always fronting at the same time. Well, it should come across as no surprise. They did say that they had mastered the disorder. I guess this unique skill only goes to prove them right. They would switch so quickly and sometimes on command, even going as far as completing each other's sentences.
Oh, how do we switch so quickly? Can we do the weird thing?
Well, how do we do the weird thing?
You know, where we just like bug the voice out.
Oh, hold on. Wait.
No, hold on.
Stop!
Okay. Oh, we almost clicked. I know, we almost glitched. That was weird.
I know, we almost glitched.
Okay, let's not do that.
Let's do that.
Switching that quickly so frequently was not normal. Triggered switches are especially likely to be quick, but too many triggers or too much overall stress can also lead to rapid cycling. This can involve several alters fronting over the course of an hour or even within a few minutes. It can be highly disorienting for those involved and can interfere with memory formation, concentration, and remaining covert, that is not appearing visibly mentally ill to others. Clearly, switching should ordinarily not come without side effects, but Jesse and James never seemed to be affected by the frequency of their switches. They could do it so fast that it was like a game to them. One other thing they could do on command was that they could reset themselves.
Okay, why are we... I think it's like... There's something discordant. I know, I'm not sure what it is. Huh. Weird. Wait, let's just try and reset it. That was... Alright. No, a couple more times. Alright. Oh, that's a lot better. Alright, a few more glitches. Alright. Alright, two more. Alright, ready?
Okay, ready.
Alright.
Okay, I feel like my pattern's fully out.
Yeah, that's much better. No, it's way better. That's so much better. Ugh, I know. I don't know what to tell you. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes, and then we resist it and we try and do it manually. And really, the brain has its own reset. So why don't we just use it? Yeah, but then it's like we're forcing. I know it's like banging our head against the wall. It's not exactly helpful. It doesn't exactly feel good, but it does the job. I know, but but I mean, that's just Tourette's. Yeah, I know.
So basically, if the effect of both of them being active at the same time got a bit too intense for them, they could easily reset themselves and be normal again. They used something called tics, and that's what makes it all fall flat on the face. Tics are quick, repetitive movements or sounds that the body makes involuntarily. They're not things you do voluntarily or at will, but Jesse and James found a way to manipulate involuntary body functions and bend them to their will.
We almost glitched. Okay, don't. Okay, hold up. Alright, let's not do that.
Yeah, let's not do that. We're the people who are still alive.
One of the most absurd claims of their version of DID was that the use of substance could be so controlled that they could determine who was affected and could also pass the effect of the substance taken.
Hey Jesse, so how are you feeling?
Feeling good.
Are you feeling good?
Yeah. Are my eyes red?
I can't see because you have the eyeballs. Okay, but it seems like you're pretty high right now. On smoked hams.
Yes. Smoke hams. Yeah, okay. But no, I'm gonna do this thing where I pass it to you.
Oh wow, this is a lot. Oh, this is nice though. Oh, hey, you wanna cuddle?
Dude, look, right now. Oh, you're so cute.
I know, I'm really high. Hey, listen. I own smoked hams.
Yes, smoked ham.
According to Jesse and James, by switching consciousness, they could decide who got to feel the effect of whatever substance was taken.
And so all we're doing is we're just moving around in the brain because certain parts of the brain are affected by like certain things differently than other things. So we just
like play. It's like we play tag.
yeah, it's like we play tag.
So your consciousness can actually move around the brain.
But not actually, dude.
Okay, right. No, it's for. Look, we're not getting into the science on TikTok. They just want to see the goofy.
Okay.
They got. Their time is limited.
Okay. Hey, I love you.
I love you too. Give me some of that high. Thank you very much.
What alter egos have are different personalities, so it's expected that they would have different responses and reactions to substances. But to claim that one alter can be totally immune from the effects of whatever is taken into the same shared body is bizarre. From the video, it's obvious that they failed at playing it off properly. Initially, Jessie was the one intoxicated, and she passed it on to James. But at some point, they were either born intoxicated or both sober at the same time. Their entire journey seemed like it was hinged on proving people wrong, showing them that they had an actual disorder. They were always in sync and always fronting at the same time, and people called it out. I'm pretty sure with DID you can't help but disassociate at work, home, or out in public. Am I wrong? Just curious. I know somebody with DID and has 2 hosts. They don't switch like this. They know who this girl is and think this girl is disgusting. She can't stand switching and disassociation. It takes a lot out of her. She hates it and can't wait to get normal one day, hopefully. But this girl doesn't have DID. Just, I don't know, some kind of mental issues. In response to being called out, Jesse and James made a video about disassociating. And just like their other content, it was embarrassing.
Second misconception, that we don't dissociate.
We absolutely dissociate. We're dissociating right now.
Okay, but they think that you're backtracking.
Okay, no, I'm not backtracking. I'm just an idiot.
Okay, how are you an idiot?
Well, I used the wrong words, which is why I took the video down. I f***ed up. Look, I am not good at people, and sometimes I get like into the science and I'm trying to figure shit out, and I say something and then people think I'm invalidating.
So no, we dissociate.
All right, what's the other one? What's the other misconception?
Oh, that we don't have dissociative.
I totally did it. Yeah,
You totally did it.
I just wiped your short term.
Yep, you did.
And if we like walk down the road,
We'll like skip through time because we won't know.
yeah, especially if you hard void. Like I like got her a birthday cake and I got her like, lit candles and stuff, and I like, I wrote her nice notes.
Yeah, we do stuff all the time for each other because the dissociative amnesia allows us to sort of like do things in secret from each other.
Okay, what's the final one that everybody's on about?
Suddenly, disassociation has become a means to be able to do things for themselves in secret. How interesting. Eventually, the account was either deleted or banned, depending on whom you ask, after multiple violations of TikTok's community guidelines. But the discourse didn't end there. On YouTube, Reddit, and Twitter, the story continued to evolve. Commentators uploaded expose videos. Threads dissected every frame of content. Debates raged over whether this was a case of intentional deception or a misguided attempt at self-expression. Honestly, anyone who knew Jessie's past would have no difficulty believing that this whole thing is a scam, as she had been involved in one before. In 2013, Jessie, who went by Annika at the time, created a website called Giantess Love, where users could share, chat, upload, gather points, and purchase clips of Giantess-themed works. Not long after the site went up, many users started to face difficulties on the platform, and it eventually all ended when the site was taken down abruptly. Users had their money trapped in their wallets before the site crashed, and that was the last time they saw those funds. Annika was totally absent from the scene for 3 months, after which she came forward with an apology. Jessie Hart is no newbie to pulling off scams. She has a track record. And one key thing about the types she carries out is that she fully immerses herself in it. If there's a community, she tries her best to be a standout personality, but sadly not for good reasons. The community aspect, all the stunts she pulls off, seems to be quite integral to her person. One reason that contributed to TwoSoulsOneBod getting kicked off TikTok was Jessie's Discord server, another community she started. She was accused of planning to teach and advise minors on explicitly inappropriate stuff, if you know what I mean. This is an ex-staff member speaking. Gwen plans to allow inappropriate conversations to be held with minors and exposing minors to inappropriate discussions under the guise of it being educational. Jessie and James also completely condone this. These discussions will be held in all ages section and will expose minors to traumatizing triggers. Report the server and leave for your own safety if you do not want to become the victim of a child predator taking advantage of this server and you. The Gwen person mentioned actually commented and said, "Okay, and you have to be 18 to access the site, meaning you can't see anything." So Jessie and James gave the go-ahead to bring inappropriate content into a space that they were aware had minors in it. Coupled with their use of the DID community, this served as evidence against them that led to them getting kicked off TikTok and the closure of their Discord server. There's no denying that social media has done incredible things for mental health awareness. It's created space for conversations that were once taboo. It's allowed people to connect, share, and heal. But it's also opened the door for bad actors, people who see vulnerability as a branding opportunity. Whether it's faking Tourette's, exaggerating OCD, or self-diagnosing with no clinical backing, there's a growing industry of performative mental health online. And it's dangerous, not just because it spreads misinformation, but because it chips away at the credibility of those genuinely living with these conditions. When viewers are repeatedly exposed to exaggerated or fabricated versions of mental illness, it affects public understanding. It leads to real people being doubted, dismissed, and even denied care. Interestingly, Jessie and James are back, but this time is Annika and Tristan.
Hello and welcome. I'm Jeffrey Mishlove. Today, we'll be exploring the topic of neurodiversity, and in particular, looking at the question of two persons inhabiting one body. I'm with Annika and Tristan, who have come to Albuquerque to be with me from some distance. And Annika and Tristan have requested that I not even mention their last names because there's some concern for their safety. We're dealing with a relatively rare phenomenon, but a phenomenon that is completely human. Welcome, Annika and Tristan.
Thank you so much for having us, Jeffrey. Yes, thank you. We appreciate it.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
With persistence and resilience like theirs, we will likely have not seen or heard the last of Jessie, James, Annika, and Tristan. And who knows, they may be adding another pair to the ever-growing list sometime soon.